motion for the agenda?
We didn't get an agenda, we got.
They were
no
coming
minutes.
around.
No, because they're held
Where
up
are they
right here.
stuck? Come on,
They're right here.
lick your finger.
We have a motion by
pull it
Bear,
off.
second by Newgard.
There you go.
We'll give them an opportunity to
Yes.
see it before we.
They did.
They do.
Motion.
Okay. Agenda.
Keep coming this way.
Oh, they were supposed to go this way. Here, go that way.
Directionally challenged here, is that right?
We need to get a committee to figure that out.
Directionally.
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Alright.
I hit that one there.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to watch?
I didn't know if we'll get one, so I just.
We do have a motion by Bear and a second by Newgard on the approval of the agenda. Anything that we'd like added or to the agenda or any changes made? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We've also set our own minutes from the December 18th, 2018 meeting. I believe those were emailed out to the commission as well. So. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the December meeting.
Motion by Daggs,
Second it.
second by Kraus. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Public comment? All right, moving on. Number 4, establish committee for EOC design / updates. I know at the December meeting, there was talk of a grant moving forward on actually making the building usable for classroom trainings, et cetera, technologies and things along those lines. Do we need to form a committee of EMA Commission that would like to see what direction we want to go forward on the setup and
The command center.
the design for the EOC from the command center to hopefully one day being able to hold these meetings actually in our operations center. We've gotten some bids from Jody Mesh, has obtained some bids on flooring and some other things, so we've got the ball rolling. Do we want a committee to continue or have input on that design, or are we gonna let the EMA make those decisions?
I can understand setting up a committee, but maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I think it would be a good idea if we were to have that full-time employee in place to help assist with all of that.
I don't disagree.
So I think that our focus needs to be that direction, and then look at that person being like the head and front and center of getting all this other stuff done.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, the person that's gonna be working in that, obviously, could have a say in it. So. Okay, well, we're moving on. Number 6, sharing agreement. I don't know if everybody's aware, the sharing agreement has dissolved or absolved per Franklin County. I'll be a bit open. I don't know exactly why. I have my suspicions or my ideas. I think there's some on this commission that wanted to see that not succeed. I don't know the reasoning why. We had what I thought was best for Hardin County moving forward. For whatever reasons, I'm suspecting that not everybody felt the same way. My concern all along, you all know how I feel about me and the EMA, but I'm managing. Mr. Creighton has been gracious enough to give me a tremendous amount of guidance in that process. I just don't want 17,000 people in Hardin County be have the misfortune because of what's been done in this process. Again, I've got my ideas. I'll keep those to myself, but it's unfortunate. We're back to me as your EMA. I will assure you I'll do absolutely the best I can. I will continue to turn to Franklin County for guidance, getting reports filed, necessary things. When we get into the budget here coming up, I am proposing, and you've all been provided a copy of the budget prior to tonight, that we go to a full-time EMA. I think having done this for the last several months, in my opinion, there's no question that it needs to be full-time. That being said, that's up for discussion. Further, I am incredibly disappointed that we couldn't make it work. I do not fault Franklin County in any way, shape, or form. If the tables were turned, I want to put Hardin County into the situation that Franklin County potentially was going to subject themselves to. Again, why, I don't know, but it is what it is. So, any other comments on the sharing agreement, or the non-existent sharing agreement, I should say?
It is extremely unfortunate that has happened, and the things in the paper that reflect badly upon Hardin County because of the dissent. And I just want it known that integrity and working together is something that I pride myself on, and reading the things in the paper that they will not work with Hardin County, I think sheds a very sad light on this commission. And whoever got to Franklin County to change their opinion of Hardin County, I think needs to do a little soul searching on why that happened, because this commission agreed to that agreement. Their commission person agreed to that, and then all of a sudden it is a no-go and they don't want anything to do with us. That does not look good for this commission, to have rogue people going out and doing subversive things. And I would hope that whoever did that would really recruit themselves from this and find somebody else to be a part of the positive things that go on and be a part of the solutions instead of being part of the problem. Because we've got a huge problem. It's not just that we have now our sheriff who's doing 2 jobs. We have a reputation now from Grundy Center and from Franklin County that no one wants to work with us. And that was done subversively. So I'm really concerned about that going forward.
I totally agree with that.
As do I.
It was quite a shock when I found out that what we approved at the last meeting had ended up the way it ended up. And if individuals on this board were responsible for that, I agree, some major soul searching needs to be done.
And that being said, I cannot thank Franklin County or Thomas enough for what they've done to this point. Again, I do not fault Franklin County at all for the decision they made with what was going on. I would have done as the chair, I would have done the exact same thing. So I think moving forward, we still have a fantastic working relationship with our neighbor to the north and Grundy, our neighbors to the east. That being said, I'm not gonna dump us into that similar situation. And I would expect all of you to want me to not put us into that situation. So I don't want it to appear that we're casting any ill will toward Franklin County, because they deserve none. They've been nothing but more than gracious to us. It's in-house here.
It's
That's
in-house.
where the issue is. And that's very disheartening, because we weren't looking for a long term. We were looking to keep the ship on course, and it was being done phenomenally. And for whatever reason, others didn't feel that way and felt the need to derail that process.
So with
Here we
that
sit.
being said, I mean, and this is all, I
I'm pretty bad because I don't pay any attention. I had to have somebody send me the articles and say, look, and so I was totally caught off guard by it all too.
As was
And
I.
I think it's very saddening, but with that being said, and it's been done, and we had that committee that decided it was to be a full-time position. What do we do from right here now? Let's get this position rolling.
Right.
Amen.
So what do we need to do?
Well, we've got a budget we're gonna propose, and in
Right.
that budget, well,
I saw it has that in there.
okay,
So-
before we go on, any other comments on the sharing agreement, then we will get into it.
Well, I'm trying to understand, so the newspaper article that I read, that there were language changes. And I was the dissenting vote because I wanted to see the actual agreement before it was sent off, which did anybody see the changes to that agreement before it was sent off?
It was discussed and approved at the meeting,
Yes.
what the
Okay.
changes would be.
All right.
So that was.
So, the newspaper article stated that there was some language changes, and it was supposed to come back, but then what happened?
It died before it could come back to this commission. The changes were made per the meeting minutes with the county attorney. Everything was done as what this commission voted to be done. And in the process, others felt the need to derail it and they do
So
whatever they needed to do.
the agreement was sent to Franklin County, they met, and they requested some language changes to come back to
That's-
us?
No, that was done prior. It was sent to Franklin County, the final agreement per this commission, what we were gonna share, how it was written up. That was presented to Franklin County. The powers that be were successful in reviewing the process, and they voted on at their commission meeting that
Okay.
we're washing our hands of this agreement.
It was hard to
or-
follow what the newspaper was saying.
It was pretty elementary to me.
Well, I mean-
I realized it was back on my plate, so,
No,
but,
no, I don't.
that's
have
where
any-
we're at. So anyway, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dave McDaniel, your EMA coordinator again. But anyway, anything else on sharing agreement? I could go on for hours, but I won't. So, moving on, budget. Go ahead and pass around the budget. This is basically gonna look very similar to what your 911 budget was. It's on the Department of Management website.
I blew mine up second.
So as we go through this,
Thanks.
it's on the back page, I'm going, man, that's when I typed in, there was a lot more numbers. We'll go through this as well. So, do we want to do line items like we did previously?
That'd be good.
Yes, please.
Okay. Then on this one, on the very back is what we'd be looking at, JDS 4, expenditure detail. These are numbers I punched in. Obviously, it's up to this commission to what direction we want to go. When we were full-time, we were looking at ending June 30th of 18 of a full-time salary of $48,586. This year, depending upon how soon we move forward on a hire, we could realistically project 25,000 potentially. I don't know that we can move that fast. My projection for June 30, 2020, I put a salary in there of $50,000. Not saying we have to pay that much, again, that's up to the commission. However, if we get the right qualified candidate, maybe they're worth that. If they've got all the certifications and we're not sending them off to Des Moines for a week of training here and there, and they come to the table fully equipped to handle the job and hit the ground running. But if it's something that we have to change, we have the flexibility to adjust the salary. But I'd rather adjust, or propose on the high side and reduce than be on the low side and not get somebody in here that we would want because of the financials, so. It's just my recommendation is the proposed budget of 50,000. FICA, IPERS, health insurance, relatively self-explanatory. Get down under commodities, stationery and forms, $1,000. That's also includes office supplies, things along those lines. Utilities, we're estimating at 4,000. We upped that a little bit in the hopes that we get it as a usable facility where we can start holding meetings there, holding trainings there. The county can use it for, in-house or in-county training, things like that. So we would obviously, the more use, we would see an increase of utilities. Advertising next, we're gonna move over to the right column, line 33. Advertising legal notices, $200, again, that's our publications and whatnot. Postage and mailing, $50. Mileage and subsidies, employee mileage and substances, $3,000. Now is probably not the time, but I would think it'd be worth discussion moving forward, that we would probably wanna look at, if we go back to a full-time EMA, properly equipping them with an emergency,
Yes.
in the EMA vehicle.
A
So they
vehicle,
have
yes.
equipment on hand, so they can respond to incidences and scenes and whatnot. So, obviously, if we go that route, the mileage, then that would come off the table, so. Telephone costs $2,000. Education and training, we have at $5,000. Again, not knowing what we're gonna get, we may have to pay for a lot of NIMS training and ICS and other trainings to get certifications up to par, so. Maintenance operating and construction equipment, I believe is what that one is, $10,000. Some of that would be towards, while we're getting some grant, or we anticipate grant monies to get it up and usable, there's gonna be cost above and beyond what the grant's gonna cover, so. Data processing equipment, $1,500. I know at the last meeting, before Micah had talked about the printer, copier, and all that is not currently on our county's network. It can be moving forward for about $100 a month. I think it's a no-brainer. Right now, it's totally independent, so I think it needs to be on our contract with the rest of the.
And that included, it was all inclusive,
All
correct?
inclusive,
Yes.
right, for, I wanna say $100 a month, so. It's not that I have bad math at 1,500, I know it should be 12, it's $100 a month, but you gotta have a little squeeze in there if necessary, so. Maintenance radio and related equipment is $50. Then you'll notice on the 18, June 30, ending 19, there's the 12.5, for what's the $25,000 grant. The EMPG in that runs a year behind. We were full-time when we had the 25,000. Since we've gone part-time, that dropped down to 12,500, which that always comes in a year late. So we're showing the 25,000 for ending June 19 because it was coming in from when we were still at a full-time employee, so. Dues and memberships, $250. Tort liability, we have insurance for errors and omissions if this commission would do something that could get us sued for your EMA. Hazard mitigation, $4,000. We did, hazard mitigation is good is 5 years. We just completed it here last year. Instead of coming up with one big $20,000, $25,000 expense, I would suggest we set aside $4,000 per budget. So when that 5 years rolls around, we've allocated or sandbagged that money for that hazardous mitigation moving forward, instead of needing to come up with it that year. We're preparing for it every year leading up to the 5 years. So subtotal services and charges, $29,050. Administration of operations, $122,095. Radio and communications equipment, or I take that back, office equipment, furniture, $2,000. Again, moving forward, if we make it a usable training classroom, that type of thing, we need to have it set up such so that we can host meetings and trainings, and what that would be, a refrigerator and just some of the necessities to handle training. So. Emergency equipment, miscellaneous, $2,500. That could be, shovels in a natural disaster. It could be diking, that fancy floaty stuff that you firemen like do for diesel spills and whatever. So. And so capital outlays $4,500. So we're looking at total expenditures of $128,595, and ending fund balance at $83,755. If we want to flip over to the inside of well, you can actually go to the very front page on revenues. We're looking at the June 30, 2020 with a beginning fund balance of $110,000. My recommendation is going to be we have a county contribution of $75,000. That previously at one point was $65,000, then it dropped to $40,000, then to $32,500. Moving forward, again, if we want to do this right, and I think we want to do it right, I don't think $75,000 is unreasonable. So, other revenues, $25,000. That would be that EMPG grant. Once we're back to full time, that grant would go back up to $25,000. So we'd have a total revenues of $100,000. Discussion on the budget.
Dean, where did that, you were talking about a vehicle and that, where, what line item would that come on it, or?
Well, we're gonna take that out of Eldora City Council's budget, but let me look.
Just get in line.
Was that on,
The vehicle's not in that budget.
yeah, it was not in the budget.
The vehicle is not in the budget, but if you look at the carryover.
Yes.
Can you go to the JDS 4 maybe?
Abstain. Carryover?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
sure.
would need a budget amendment and then come out of this.
Yeah, that's, what line is that?
Total ending fund balance.
62 on the back
Line
page.
62 on JDS 4.
So like 83?
Yeah.
But it would mean that you have to amend the budget to expend that kind of dollars, because it was not figured in here.
It's not unreasonable if this commission wanted to go that route, that, as a temporary holdover until we do the new budget or get an amendment, that I can't take a squad car instead of trading it off, convert that to an EMA vehicle temporarily until such a time that this.
I was just
Yeah,
curious where
no.
that was built in, if we
So,
needed to.
because there's been
I
that
just
thought.
think that makes sense, if you're gonna make it a full-time, they need to have a vehicle where they can get around, they can go. Part of our thing was for them to go to all these different communities.
Right, and be visible. The other-
And
the
be
other thing,
visible, and you're
and
not gonna,
marketing, so-
it just needs, they need to
Absolutely.
have all of the tools to make this,
Yeah, it's gonna be dependent upon this commission.
Yeah.
Whether it succeeds or not. It's not gonna be the individual necessarily.
Right.
It's gonna be the commission moving forward. So I think in this process, I know I've learned way more than I ever cared to about EMA, but I also see what our expectations should be moving forward in a EMA coordinator. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not your expectation. I am not setting the bar, so, but I've got a good idea of what we should expect out of our coordinator moving forward.
Now, the sheriff's office has, if I remember correctly, gotten very good at replacing their vehicles on a rotation schedule long-term. Would it be a good fit to have the EMA pick up one of your retired squad cars?
Depending on the car.
Yeah, and the driver.
Depending on the car and the driver.
Not the sheriff's vehicle himself, but maybe a respectable officer of some kind.
Good point. It's feasible.
Okay.
It's feasible. But I also don't want to hand off something that's gonna nickel and dime this commission.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
You know,
but
so-
I mean, and that might, I think in the interim, that might work.
Right.
But I really think it needs to be something more like a SUV size thing with the 4-wheel drive, and so that when we're in any type of situation, they've got, their access is able to get there with the
The ability to tow trailers.
the back
and-
end's full of shit, and they can take whatever they gotta go and
Yep,
go.
there you go.
So-
I agree, yeah, and the interim, we most certainly could figure out a squad car that could go to the individual, so. Or,
Most of yours are SUVs.
yeah, all of ours are either trucks or SUVs at this point.
And do we have to have a public hearing on this?
Yes, we will. Thomas?
Just a heads up that if you really want to put the vehicle on the line item, then you can do that and then just change this before you go to public hearing. I mean, you can rebuild the budget.
I think
and
it's- it
then
should
you
be
can-
put in.
You can, because it's right here.
What about 911 on sign?
I'm sorry.
Kidding.
But
Please don't open that can.
depending on what you want for a carryover, what you decide needs to be a carryover, then that might up what you need the county to put in.
As Mayor Nearing, I know, can attest, because him and I looked at this a while back. We were previously looking at potentially an ending fund balance of $7,900.
Yeah.
So we're in much better shape than we were tracking, so, I'm comfortable going that direction if we so choose.
I think that makes sense, before you even go with the budget, is put it in there.
I can add it to a line item if somebody would like to tell me how much they would recommend.
Thomas, how much for your vehicle sitting outside?
Well, that would be, I would say we just stick with what this commission, just kidding, Thomas. I'm kidding.
If you were to replace that vehicle, how much?
60,000.
That's with all
And I was thinking
That's
between
equipment.
45 and 50,000.
Well, but you got equipment, radios.
Right.
Stuff like that in there that add that up.
It all have to be added in, so I don't think 60's
No,
out of, because that's, you've got all those radios and everything along.
I thought
He said it includes
just
that
the
60.
vehicle?
No, that's with
No,
the
no,
radios.
that's
No, that's
everything.
with the radios.
The way it says.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah.
I, 55 to 60,000, I
Yeah,
think is a very.
I don't think 60,000 is unusual.
So I would just look at a dollar amount, whether that be, and again, I can adjust to where we could provide a vehicle on the interim. I don't think it's a bad idea to put it in the budget. I can tell you right now, a brand new Ford utility, a brand new Tahoe, you're right at about $35,000 to $37,000. That's for the vehicle, that's not
The new
upfitting with
equipment,
lights
so, yeah.
and equipment, radios and whatnot. But for a vehicle itself, you're gonna be in that $35,000 to $40,000 range.
I would like to see us put a line item in there for a vehicle at about 60,000. I did cover all of the equipment and lights and whatever else.
I agree.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
A motion by Days, could you repeat your motion, please? Just,
I make a motion that we create a line item in the budget for this upcoming fiscal year for $60,000 for a vehicle for the emergency management position coordinator.
okay.
I second that.
Second by Budwig. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So I will get that change made, that line item put in prior to us publishing for the public hearing. But is there any further discussion on the budget itself? Concerns, whatever? I would like to personally, us to start advertising and moving forward as soon as possible on a full-time EMA. Getting it advertised, it's not something, obviously, that's gonna be done even by next month's meeting, but I think we can get the job description and everything that we want and get it posted and get it put out there and start taking applications.
And we have the job
We,
description.
I think we approved it at the last
We
meeting.
did,
didn't we?
yeah.
So that's,
So
should be
that's
ready to roll.
the-
We got a salary and job description.
Just that one, we're not-
Yep.
we're not-
Get
So-
it advertised.
So that being said, it's not gonna, I'm clarifying that because we got the 25,000 allocated potentially for wage from now until June 30. I don't know, I would love to say we'll have a new EMA by January 16th, but I don't think that's gonna happen. However, with that, what we have in there, certainly the time we would get somebody hired should carry us to June 30, no problem. So I personally would love for us to get
So
moving
how
on
long
that.
do we have to run the ads before we can interview and close
I
it?
don't think there's a set time I'm running the ads. I think, I will talk to Thomas, because obviously we'll do the social media side of things, and I also know there's a website for emergency management, and that, so we'll get it posted as much as we can. I don't know,
What do you want for closing date?
2 or 3 weeks, if we want to look at, say, March 1st as a closing date,
Yeah, that sounds good.
and then we could, from there, we could start looking at
Yeah.
interviews and whatnot, so.
Will it be
it-
that same team that we had before?
I think, let's discuss that, I'll put that on the agenda at the February meeting, just simply because if somebody wants to be involved or doesn't
Yeah.
wanna be involved, they're not tied, let's just start fresh on that, so.
Sure.
Back to the budget, any further discussion? I would entertain a motion to, with the motion made by Daggs, seconded by Budweiser on the addition of the line item for a vehicle, entertain a motion to approve the budget as proposed for public hearing.
I'll make said motion.
Motion by Kraus. Second by Fiskus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next meeting date would be February 19th. I said we set the public hearing for,
You can always go
7:30.
late, you just can't go early.
Right.
So, you can say 6:30 something.
6:31.
Sure.
If we can keep our 911 secretary under control, we should be done with plenty of time. February 19th, 6:31 PM, 6:30 we'll meet EMA, or immediately following 911, but we'll set the public hearing for 6:31 PM on February 19th. Other than that, put a adjourn on the agenda.
911 was
Thomas,
Can I, it's not public comment, but can I comment a minute?
you may.
I want to thank you guys. I was very graciously welcomed into Hardin County. The auditor, the treasurer, we've gone over your budgets, and the treasurer and the auditor have corrected some items. The one thing you guys will be seeing is that the auditor has the budget, these numbers that you guys approve in the budget for fiscal year 20 will go into the budget, and she's already got you guys' emails in her system, so you will be seeing that monthly budget report come in your emails on a regular basis, so you can keep up of what the budget looks like and what's being spent. But I appreciate the invitation, I appreciate the opportunity to help you get started down the right road, and thanks for the graciousness of your county offices and of you guys allowing me into your county.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done, sir.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Nearing.
I'll second.
Second by Smug. Any further? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. See, Bryce, that's how you not have a meeting.
You're the chair. Different room.